welcome to another episode of Dialogue with the Dukes. I'm your host, Bill Berger, and today's show is being brought to you by the Colonial Barbershop located at 121 West Herrick in downtown Wellington. Today we are spotlighting the track and field team, and for the first time, I believe, the gentleman off to my immediate right, the track coach, Mr. Coach Kimmich. It's the first time I believe we've had a track coach come in and talk, so trying to keep it real and keeping it fresh, we're having the first time having the track coach. And to my immediate left, we have Jayde Davis. She's a junior here at Wellington, and she's going to represent the girls' track and field team. So welcome to both of you today. We're going to start with the coach because, as I said, first time. So we're going to ask some interesting questions, I hope, that will provoke some thought. Your first question is going to be, track season is almost over. I realize that tonight we have, hopefully weather permitting, it's not going to be raining too hard.
Hope so.
We have a duel with Firelands, and then over the Friday, I believe it is.
Yes.
We have an invite up in Vermilion. So, and then after that, we have the LC8 and district championships.
Correct.
So, how would you assess? How would you feel like the team has done? How has the school done so far in all the track meets that we've had?
Sure. Yeah, this season has been a culmination of a lot of years of hard work. So, for example, Jayde's grade are juniors, and we have a really great collection of upper class kids, juniors and seniors, that have put in a lot of hard work over the last few seasons, and we are seeing the benefit and the payoff from that hard work. So, for example, like maybe last year, the year before, as underclass kids, you know, we had some success, but still they were competing against juniors and seniors. Mm-hmm. Now they're the ones that are juniors and seniors, and we're starting to see how evenly we're able to compete in a lot of the bigger meets. We have a very, very tough conference. We often tell the kids that our conference is probably just as, if not more difficult than our district. Mm-hmm. But yet we're not on the outside looking in anymore. We're right there with the big dogs in our conference competing for those podium spots. Mm-hmm. And so I've been extremely pleased, very proud of the kids' effort. And even in spite of what I would say less than desirable conditions and weather, they have persevered. For example, the Mapleton Invitational on Friday, really bad conditions, and we ran some of our best times. Mm-hmm. So it's very encouraging to me to see, you know, their good attitudes and their hard work paying off even in spite of some adversity, which tells me, hey, in good weather or in a better setting, we're probably going to see some fireworks. So.
And needless to say, our first home meet this year, cold. Oh my goodness, it was cold. I was up in the press box with a heater.
Yeah, for sure.
People, I can't believe we didn't have more injuries being so cold, pulling muscles and hamstrings and everything else. Goodness, that was just terrible.
Well, that's why we commit to the weight room, and I'm not going to get on that tangent, but we definitely focus on injury prevention to make sure that the kids are safe and healthy. So.
Well, you mentioned the fact that the districts are going to be easier. Explain why that is.
So traditionally in the past, we've gone down to the Norwayne district for that tournament. And even though we're Division III in track, just because we're Division III doesn't mean that every school in Division III is the same size as us.
True.
So we could very easily be competing against schools that are much larger in size, having more kids to choose from. So the district that we are in this year is the Cuyahoga Heights district, and most of the schools are very similar in enrollment size to us.
And perfect example is that school out east.
Yes.
Much bigger.
Yeah.
And they're certainly good.
Yep,
but we have to compete against them in the conference.
We do, correct.
And speaking of the conference, we know that we have the LC8 and also the district championships coming up, as we said. So how do you feel we'll do? Do we have some good standouts? Do you think we'll do very well in our district?
Yeah, so assessing where we're at now, compared to where we've been at in the past, and working our way up that conference ladder, we know in both the girls and the boys divisions who the top teams are. Mm-hmm. So for the ladies division, it has been pursuing Firelands and Brookside. And honestly, this year I'm pretty confident that we can probably overtake Brookside in the standings. Mm-hmm. Firelands is a much bigger school. They have a lot of students to choose from. And so they're the ones to beat. So until we beat them, you know, we'll always kind of be chasing them and, you know, in pursuit. But I think those days are very quickly arriving where we're not on the outside looking in. We're right on the heels of some of those bigger schools in the bigger divisions. And, you know, we may have half the size of the team, but we're able to compete in most of the events, which is very encouraging. The ladies have a really good opportunity to be right with Brookside, if not right on the heels of Firelands in the conference tournament. And honestly, our boys division has stepped up significantly this year, and where we've been kind of in the middle of the pack, they could legitimately make a run at the top 3 of the conference. We've got some individual events that are standouts, but also a lot of our relays are starting to really come together, and our throwing events have been putting in a lot of work. So our jumps and our throws and our vaults, a lot of really good opportunities next week. So again, with a decent day or two of weather, we could very easily see a lot of personal bests and really see this stuff come together.
Yeah, well, obviously we are winding the season down. I know, in fact, we've already had our senior day.
Yeah.
So there was a very nice tribute that you wrote to
Yeah.
the seniors. And for those people who couldn't attend senior day, if you could paraphrase your tribute and how important seniors are to the team this year.
Sure, yeah, and I spoke with them candidly before the meet started, and that group has been with us for 4 years. So we have seen the time and the effort and the investment that they've made into the program, and as a coaching staff, we're still in the growing stages of developing the program. So these guys have been with us almost from day one, helping us as a coaching staff really start laying the foundational blocks of what we hope a successful program will be. And we're already seeing some success. We're already seeing some benefits and some payoffs of the hard work, of the consistency, of the good attitudes that the kids have. And so this senior class, being our first 4-year group, it's very sentimental. Like it hits home when you look at them and you think back to the last 4 years, what they've invested and what they've put in, and how they've really grown into really quality young people that have done a lot for this program. I couldn't be more proud of a group of students. So I wanted to, share a few words at the end of the senior day walkouts, just sharing my thankfulness and my gratitude to them. Because as we look back in our program's history, 20 years from now, we'll be able to look back and say, man, that senior class really laid a lot of strong foundational stones that helped us get to where we are now. So,
well, I'm glad you brought up the assistant coaches.
Yes.
I want you to give a shout out to all your assistant coaches, because
For sure.
with 60-some athletes on the track team, you've got to have assistant coaches. So if you could name them and tell them what they're responsible
for sure, and I've been very blessed and fortunate to surround myself with, in my opinion, the best coaching staff in Northeast Ohio. I say it all the time, but our program's success is largely, and not only the kids and their effort, but with the coaching staff and their expertise in their events that they coach, but also the passion that they have to make the investment into the student athletes. They genuinely love what they do. They love coming to work every day, and they genuinely care about the students and their development, not only athletically, but also as young people. So Jerica Hopkins is my assistant coach, and she coaches hurdles, relays, and the long jump. She does a fantastic job in all of her events. I definitely couldn't run the program without her. We have Coach Ben Friend, who's our mid and distance coach, who does a phenomenal job getting those events prepared. And those are some of the ones that are going to be very competitive this year. I've got Coach Dylan Lowry, who's our shot put and discus throw coach, who in just a few short years of being with the program has done a phenomenal job developing the young kids and making an investment into our upper class. And honestly, we have a very competitive throwing group because of that. Our full-time pole vault coach is Erin Sievers. Unfortunately, this will be her last year with us, but I do have a volunteer coach, Garrett Gherkin, who will be joining us full-time next year. And honestly, because of Coach Aaron, we've been able to solidify ourselves as a dominant pole vault force in the conference. We have girls and boys divisions that are staring down the opportunity of podium placements at conference and potentially some very successful district competition as well. So I've got a fantastic coaching staff. Very, very thankful for everything that they do, and it brings me a lot of encouragement and excitement looking forward to where the program's going in the future.
Well, speaking about where the program's going, my first question to you is, what events do you compete in, and what do you think is your strongest event, if you have a strongest event, or events?
So I run both of the hurdle events, which are 100 and 300 hurdles, the open 2 and the 4x4 relay. I think my strongest is the 2, which I just started that like a week and a half ago, like actually competing in it and realizing
Mm-hmm. Well, now I know that it isn't just track season whenever it starts. You do a lot of work outside of it, and I know that you were in some other meets prior to the track season this year. Could you tell us about that?
So there was indoor meets that was at the Oberlin College, and pretty much weightlifting all winter helped a lot with that.
Mhm.
And then Coach Kimmich always made us do some running after, which actually helped a lot more than I thought it would have, because at the beginning of the season, I wasn't out of breath like a lot, and I wasn't as tired like as I was the season before. So
Mhm.
it actually like helped stay where I was and then continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach has already talked about the team this year, but now I want, from your perspective as one of the athletes, from your perspective, how has the team done this year? Do you think do we have, shall we say, strengths and weaknesses? Are there things that we could improve on, or are there things that we are really doing real well at?
I think everyone as a team could improve, but losing our seniors last year was one of the bigger classes, and we didn't lose anything. We just continued to grow. So I think like being smaller than we were last year didn't change the potential and things we've already seen before.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about all the work that you have to put in, all the work that Coach Kimmich put you in, what would be a typical, assuming the weather's okay, what would be a typical practice day for you?
Well, for being in the 4, we do kind of like different. So if you run shorter sprints, you do like a shorter workout, and in the longer sprints, you actually do the longer one. So we'll do ladders starting at like 150, 250s, 350, and then work our way back down. Or if we do hurdle workouts, we'll just run through them. Or if we're practicing for the 4x4, we run 450s, which are my least favorite.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
What about hurdle practice itself? You said like 150, 100, 150. What does all that mean?
So instead of starting at the 100 line for the 100 meter dash, you just start in between the 1 and the 2.
Okay.
And it's just to have more like endurance
Okay.
for it. So if you run a 2, you'll be sprinting 250. So then when you actually run the 2, it's not as bad as you make it seem because you're used to running 250s.
Now, what for 4x4 to increase your stamina? What actually goes into doing that? How do you practice that?
A lot of repeats.
And what do you mean by repeats? Explain that to the audience.
So instead of doing just 1 or 2, you will do like 4 or 5 or even more some days. And not jogging it, actually putting in effort to continue and do it. And even when you're tired by the 8th one or whatever number we're ending, you still give your effort as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it'll help you and only improve your time at big meets because you'll be used to running it all the time.
Next question. Coach has already talked about the fact we have a huge team. In fact, probably not true that you could add all the other teams together to come up with a total, which is probably approximately how big our track team is. 60, 65 people every year on the team. Why do you think that the team is so popular within the school and the athletes themselves? Because like in your case, you're a 2-sport athlete. We have many 3-sport athletes that are out there. Why do you think the track team at the end of a year, a school year, why is it so popular?
Definitely coaches help. They're very positive and they're always encouraging us. I've never been put down by coaches there, so it's definitely, that's helpful. And at first when I did track, it was just to stay in shape for volleyball, but that changed because it's now my favorite sport.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I can see more improvement in that than I can in any other sport. Like I can see my times get down
Sure.
at practice, and I guess the people there too. They're very encouraging. They're like a second family to me. Like I enjoy going to practice every day, so that definitely helps.
Mm-hmm. In my high school and college career, I wish I could say that I enjoyed every one of my practices, because I'd say I didn't. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot now. You're a junior, so you still have a whole another year to go. Do you think Coach is going to be just as excited about you as a senior and all your other juniors and underclassmen? I hope so, needless to say, but I know you have one more year to go. But to this point, what do you think has been your greatest athletic accomplishment? And it doesn't necessarily have to be track, it could be volleyball. To this point, and then looking forward, what can you improve on?
Well, my biggest accomplishment is running the 400 from my sophomore year to this year. My time's definitely gone down and staying consistent. too. Just get my times down again.
Mm-hmm.
So I run like a 28 now. I want to see 27s. So.
Good. Well, we'd like to thank both Coach Matt Kimmich and Jayde Davis for coming in and talking to us from the coach's point of view and the girls representative here at Wellington High School. And we'll be back again very soon after this commercial message. This is Dialogue with the Dukes.
Colonial Barbershop, the oldest and best barbershop in Ohio. Established in 1872, we are a 150 years young family business in Wellington, Ohio. Come and get your haircut on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or on Saturday from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m.
We are back. We hope that if you are in need of a haircut, that you visit the Colonial Barbershop located at 121 West Herrick. They are the oldest and I think the best barbershop in the whole entire state of Ohio. During the first portion of this episode, we talked with Coach Kimmich and Jayde Davis about the track team, how it's been doing so far this year, and we talked with Jayde from her perspective of how the team has done, what she's involved in with the track team, and also the fact that she's also a volleyball player here at Wellington High School. Now to my immediate left, we have Marshall Mull. He is a senior here at Wellington High School, and he's a two-sport athlete also, not only in track and field, but also on the football team. So Marshall, welcome to you also. First question is going to be like we had with Jayde. What events do you compete in track and field, and what do you feel like is your strongest event or events?
So far over my 4 years in track, I've competed in shot put, discus, and the 4x1 relay.
Okay.
My strongest event for these 4 years, I feel like since freshman year, I've been in Dad's 4x1 relay, the throwers, and at midnight Mapleton every year, we have the 4x1 relay. There's 6 to 8 teams who always run it, and we've always been part of it. So ever since my freshman year, I've been on that team, and I've worked over the 4 years through on this team, and I think that's my strongest event.
How do you feel like you've progressed over the 4 years that you've been on the track team?
Over the 4 years I've been on the track team, I think I've progressed pretty well. My shot put throw is up to almost 35 feet, and I started down at like 28 feet. My disc, disc is a tough one to learn because it's not really strength, it's all form and how you're going to move your body.
Footwork involved.
Yeah, there is. So I've developed that footwork and all that for my last 4 years, and I'm finally up to almost consistently 100 feet. So, yeah, and then the 4x1 relay, football and track, mainly football, has done a really good job in getting me in better shape and making me faster, and I feel like this year has really shown that our dad's relay has improved based off everybody's times, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, being a two-sport athlete and being in in one sport that's extremely physical, and not to say that track and field isn't physical also, but it's a completely different situation. How do you motivate yourself not only for track and field but also for football?
So I see track as more of an individualistic event, as in shot and disc, it's your throws, nobody else affects you. The relay, on the other hand, it's you got some teamwork involved, but it's definitely also you got to be able to run. So I think that track, I motivate myself better in track because I'm more just working on improving myself and all of that. But compared to football, that is a team game. If you're pulling your weight, not everybody else might. As Coach Howells and Kimmich would tell us, that you got your 1/11th. So if you can't pull your 1/11th, your whole rest of your team can't. So I feel like that the teamwork from football helps you improve the team in general, but track is more of you have to improve yourself.
Now I put Jayde on the spot a little bit in front of Coach. Now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Wellington High School, as Coach has already talked about, we're kind of during a 4-year program. You're in a 4-year program. Look at the school itself, the track team itself. What do you feel like is the strongest point or points, and maybe the weakest points on the track team?
I think the strongest points of our track team is that we have a very strong culture. So everybody on that team, it's like a family. So if you come into this team your freshman year and think that you can just walk on, boss people around, have a bad attitude, nobody's going to want you on the team, and you're going to see that you're not going to be able to work as hard, because it's hard to work hard on a team where you know that nobody's going to want you there when you're showing a bad attitude and culture. And I think the weakest part of the team, that's a hard question. I think that a lot of people on this team, the weakest part of this team is that a lot of people think they can come in and just take people's spots and be cocky. And the cocky attitude, it has some point of improvement for your character,
Sure.
and your athleticism. But if you show that cocky attitude, you're not gonna be able to work as hard, because you have people like Joe Fox, who won state cross country, and he's here. He's sophomore. He's running fast, and he's showing the juniors and seniors they're gonna have to work harder. And that, I feel like that helps improve the team, but it's also not necessarily a weak point for that part, because
Exactly. Well, we've talked a little bit about the weather and how it's impacted the whole entire season. We talked about practices with Jayde. Now I want to talk to you about how weather has actually impacted the meets.
So a lot of our track meets, that pesky rain and snow likes to come in there and do so much stuff for us. So the biggest thing for like throwing, if you're throwing, like our pit at the field, the shot pit, a lot of times it's flooded, and then that's a problem, because when it's flooded, then your throws and you start slipping, and that, like the footwork we talked about, if you can't keep your footwork, then you're not going to be able to throw that well. So I think that a big thing with this weather is that even though we have this weather, you can see our times improving, you can see all the improvement from our team. As you can see, last week you can see a lot of people's times got better, a lot of people won a lot of events, and even though we have this weather, we're working to go through it, and even when it's raining at practice, we still practice like normal practice. The rain doesn't stop us, and I think that even though the weather's there, we just go through it.
Just like football.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, I think Coach would have to agree that the weather has been certainly a challenge this year. More so than any other year probably that you've been the track coach.
It's a little bit. Last year was a struggle. We lost a couple meets early because of inclement weather, but then it did get nicer. This year has just kind of progressively been cold and rainy, so it has been a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to ask you the same last question that I asked Jayde. What do you feel like your greatest athletic accomplishment has been throughout your 4 years? And doesn't necessarily have to be track, it could be football.
I think that my biggest athletic accomplishment would definitely be the throwers' dad's relay.
Okay.
So at Midnight Mapleton last week, our throwers relay ran a 53 second, and we got first place, and the first time in 4 years we have won the throwers relay. And back to our freshman year, you can see the improvement. We had a lot of teams back then throw all sprinters into the relay, and we got 6th, 7th, 8th place, and we wanted to get higher, so we worked for the past 4 years, and now we're here. We got first place, and I think a lot of that has to go with our coaching staff and just our work as a team. And I also want to point out that a lot of people tell us that we have just sprinters on our team and we are not full of throwers, because everybody's salty that we had to win this 4x1, and I think that they should look at our team and realize that we have a lot of kids on our team who you can say they're a thrower, but they run fast because we have coaching staff who puts us to work. They don't let us slack off. We all run every day. We run our 2 laps to warm up, and even during the week we do every single week before meet we do our handoffs and practice our relays 4 or 5 times, and I think it's really shown with our win.
Exactly. Well, once again, we'd like to thank Jayde Davis, the girls track and field representative, and Marshall Mull, the boys track and field representative, and Coach Matt Kimmich. And by the way, if this guy doesn't look familiar to you, he should, because during football season, where is he? He's stalking the sidelines, up and down and up and down the sidelines, as one of the assistant coaches on the football team. So again, doing a 2-sport athlete.
That's true.
Doing both the football and the head track and field coach here at Wellington High School. So we'd like to thank all 3 of them for coming in, and we'll be back again very soon with another episode of Dialogue with the Dukes.